Hello, and welcome to the MedEdits YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be discussing medical school secondary essays, and I will go over 6 tips that you need to understand to master the process. Let's get started now. My name is Dr. Jessica Friedman. I am a former faculty member and admissions committee member at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai. I am also the author of several top-selling books about the medical admissions process on Amazon, and I am the founder of MedEdits Medical Admissions. We have been helping students get into top schools such as Harvard, Hopkins, Columbia, and more for 15 years. So tip number 1 when writing your secondary essays is to prioritize. The reality is that assuming you applied to 20 to 30 schools, you will be bombarded by secondary applications since the vast majority of medical schools send out secondary applications automatically and do not screen. So the key is to be very organized in your approach when completing your secondary essays. We recommend that students complete their secondary essays according to the different categories in which your schools fall. So, for example, you don't want to complete all of your reach schools first, where you have very little chance of getting in. Instead, you want to make sure that you complete the vast majority of your target schools first, or you want to alternate between target, safest, and reach schools so that you are not late in sending in your secondary essays to the schools where you are most likely to get interviews and get accepted. Tip number 2 is to be efficient, but don't be sloppy. We understand that you will want to complete all of your secondary essays as quickly as possible, but you don't want to give yourself firm deadlines. And why is that? Because if you complete your secondaries too quickly, you will be sacrificing authenticity and quality. You also want to be careful pre-writing your secondary essays. And we understand that many students like to do this and to then use those pre-writes for multiple schools. However, if you pre-write a general essay, it is very likely that that essay will not fit for specific school prompts, and I will discuss more about this in a bit. You also don't want to have multiple revisions for every essay that you write, because there simply is not enough time for you to complete all of your secondary essays if you are doing multiple revisions for every essay that you compose. Something I alluded to earlier is tip number 3, recycle your essays with caution. I am going to review 2 prompts that both address the topic of diversity. Prompt 1, the Committee on Admissions regards the diversity broadly defined of an entering class as an important factor in serving the educational mission of the school. The Committee on Admissions strongly encourages you to share unique, personally important and/or challenging factors in your background, such as the quality of your early educational environment, socioeconomic status, culture, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and life or work experiences. Please discuss how factors have influenced your goals and preparation for a career in medicine. Limit your answer to 2,000 characters with spaces. So this is a very, very broad prompt that really wants to understand how your background and different factors in your background have influenced your goals and how that has prepared you for a career in medicine. Now let's look at prompt number 2. Yale School of Medicine values diversity in all its forms. How will your background and experiences contribute to this important focus of our institution and inform your future role? Now, this prompt, which also is about diversity, wants to understand how you're going to contribute to the focus of the institution as well as in your future role as a physician. So even though these prompts both cover the same topic, the focus of the prompts is very, very different. So if you were to use the same essay or slight variations of the same essay for both of these prompts, you really wouldn't be addressing both prompts, and you would be doing yourself a disservice. Tip number 4 is don't be afraid to repeat topics that are also covered in your primary application. For applicants who write very comprehensive primary applications, and at MedEdits, we encourage our students to write very comprehensive applications so they have very broad appeal for the wide variety of people who will be reading the application, they will often be forced to repeat topics in their secondary essays. Now, keep in mind that prompts are designed by the school to get information out of you that many students leave out of a primary application. So you need to kind of keep in mind why schools design prompts and compose prompts the way that they do. And this is also why schools will periodically change prompts, because if they find that students are leaving out information that they want to know, they will adjust their secondary prompts accordingly. Tip number 5 is to read the prompt carefully, be sure you answer the prompt, and use word limits and character limits to guide you. So one of the biggest mistakes that we see is that rather than answering a prompt, students tend to answer essays based on what they think the admissions committee wants to hear. So be sure you read the prompt and be sure you answer it. And you also want to use limits to guide you. So let's look at Albany and UCSD. These are both autobiographical prompts, but the Albany prompt is only 1,000 characters, whereas the UCSD prompt is 6,000 characters. So what this tells you is that UCSD really wants a comprehensive autobiographical statement, whereas Albany wants you to be more concise. And this is also another illustration of why you can't and shouldn't recycle essays, because these character and word limits should really be an indicator of how much information the school wants from you. Now let's review some common prompt topics that you are likely to see repeatedly. The first is the adversity, failure, or challenge prompt. And medical schools want to understand how you cope with less than ideal situations and how you respond to those situations. The second is the diversity prompt, where schools want to know what makes you different. And when answering essays of this type, you really need to think very, very broadly. Why our school essays are also very important. And in these essays, you want to try to be as specific as possible and relate your interest in the school to your already established interest. Gap year plans essays are fairly straightforward, and they want to understand what you have planned for your gap year. And future practice type essays don't necessarily want to know what exactly you plan to practice. Many students don't know the answer to that, but they really want an understanding of how you envision your future career. So to summarize, first, you want to make sure that you read the prompt and that you address the prompt. You want to use word and character limits to guide you with regards to how much information the medical school wants from you. And finally, get professional help. At MedEdits, we have been helping students from a variety of backgrounds get into a huge spectrum of schools. We are former admissions directors, physicians, and we are professionals who can help you. Unlike the vast majority of our competitors, we are not from other industries and self-proclaimed and self-taught experts. So I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, visit our website, www.mededits.com, and access our database of secondary essay prompts on our website, the link for which is below. We wish you the best of luck.